Good afternoon, students. Today let us do some more applications related to the motional EMF as well as induced EMF. Let me see this problem. The question, it is given like this: an angle CBD made of conducting wire moves along its bisector through a magnetic field B as suggested by figure. What is the EMF induced? What is the EMF induced between the ends C and D? If the magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the angle. So this is the question, and the question figure they gave like this. This is a C, this is a B, D. This angle they gave 120 degrees and it is moving along the bisector of the angle with velocity v, and magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the paper or plane of the angle containing paper into the paper like that. This is the question. Solution. If you observe clearly, individually CB is acting as a rod, BD is acting as a rod, and this velocity can have components. This angle is 60 degrees. As it is 60 degrees, we can have two components. One is V cos 60 along the rod, V sin 60 perpendicular to the rod. So the component of velocity of rod or the arrangement perpendicular to CB is V sin 60. V sin 60 will be this is CB, V sin 60 will be like this. V sin 60 is perpendicular to the plane of perpendicular to the length of the CB. This only will create EMF in this rod. Now if you observe this rod clearly from right hand palm rule, fingers are representing the magnetic field. Velocity of the rod is like this. So you will get positive potential on the upper side, negative potential on the lower side. So it behaves as an cell with positive potential and negative potential like this. As per right hand palm rule, magnetic field is represented by the remaining fingers. Velocity is represented like this. Above the palm you will have high potential, below the palm you will have low potential. Similarly, if you observe the BD, here it will also have two components. The component responsible for production of motional EMF is V sin 60, again perpendicular to that, and here magnetic field is into the paper, so velocity is like this. So you will have high potential this side, low potential this side. plus is here, minus is here. If you combine both CB, it is acting as a cell like this, and BD, it is acting as a cell like this. B, C, D. The EMF of this cell is given by BVL. B is the strength of the magnetic field. In the place of velocity, you have to take V sin 60 into length. Length, let it be L. L is the length of the element. Okay. In the figure itself they gave L is the length. Now, same is the case here. B into V sin 60 into L will be the EMF of this cell. Both cells, they are like this. Once again, you see the directions whether they are correct or not. Here, velocity is upwards, magnetic field is into the paper. So we will have positive potential this side and negative potential this side. Here, velocity is like this. So positive potential that side and negative potential this side. So this is the orientation of those fields. Now, this value is equal to sin 60 is root 3 by 2. So root 3 by 2 BVL, which is nothing but the potential difference between VC and VB. This is VC minus VB. Similarly, if you take this, again you will get the same root 3 by 2 BVL, root 3 by 2 BVL, and it is equal to VB minus VD. VB minus VD. Now the question is, EMF induced between C and D they are asking. Between C and D they are asking. That means you are asked to find VC minus VD how much. So if you subtract these two, VC minus VB minus VB minus VD. No, if you add these two, then VB gets cancelled, VC minus VD will be left over. So if you add these two, 2 times of this. So 2 times of this means root 3 BVL. Root 3 BVL is the answer for the question. This is nothing but VB gets cancelled. VC minus VD is equal to root 3 BVL. That is the EMF induced between the two ends of the given arrangement of rods. Most important model for competitive exams. I hope everybody understood. Here, this velocity is having 2 components. One component parallel to the length of the rod. As per the earlier problem in the morning session, if velocity is parallel to the length, it will not create EMF. Velocity is perpendicular to the length, it will create EMF. So the created EMF is helpful for us in solving the problems. I hope you understood the ideas clearly. Let us go to next problem. The next question, it is like this. A conducting rod AB is bent in the form of a semicircle of radius R. It is kept in a region of uniform magnetic field B such that plane of the semicircle is perpendicular to magnetic field is perpendicular to magnetic field. The rod is being moved. The rod is being moved with a constant speed, with a constant speed v, perpendicular to AB, perpendicular to AB. Find the EMF developed between the ends. Find the EMF developed between the ends. So the question figure, it consists of a uniform magnetic field, in this magnetic field. The given rod is bent in the form of semicircle. This is the semicircular rod. The name of the rod is AB. So this is A, this is B, this is the center. R is the radius of this semicircle, and this rod is moving with a constant velocity v perpendicular to AB like this, perpendicular to AB like this. So this center I am taking it as O. Now I would like to find EMF developed between the ends A and B. EMF developed between the ends A and B. In order to solve this question, we never studied about curved elements moving in magnetic field. That's why let me take a small differential element of the rod of length dl. The differential element of the rod of length dl. This dl is making some angle d phi here. The element is located at a angular separation of phi with respect to the radius like this. So dl is the length of the element, d phi is the angle subtended by the length of the element at origin, and phi is the angular position of the element. Phi is the angular position of the element. If you observe clearly, only the particular element is like this, length of the element is dl. This element is having velocity v in upward direction, because velocity is in upward direction. Here we can have two components. In order to know, the element is making an angle phi with horizontal, so we also can have components. Suppose dl is the length of the element. If you extend like this, as this angle is phi, you will have as it is phi, for this line this is perpendicular, for this line this is perpendicular, so this is phi. So this is v cos phi, this is v sin phi. V sin phi is the component of velocity which is perpendicular to the length of the element, which is responsible for the production of induced EMF or motional EMF inside the element. The motional EMF developed dV or dE, anything you can write, dV is equal to BVL. B is the strength of the magnetic field, velocity is V sin phi, length of the element is dl. As the length is small, developed EMF is also very small. Now, you know that arc length is equal to radius into sector angle. dl can be written as r d phi. So dv can also be written as bv sin phi dl. In the place of dl I can write r d phi. So dv is given by bvr sin phi d phi. In order to have the EMF due to the entire rod, we should integrate on both sides. So EMF developed between AB means integral dV, nothing but integral bvr sin phi d phi. Phi, you may take this element here, then phi is 0. You may take this element here, phi is 180. So phi varies from 0 to 180. 180 are pi. So B constant, V constant, R constant, integral sin phi d phi 0 to pi. Integral sin phi is cos phi. So substituting the limits, you will get BAB is given by BVR cos phi, limits 0 to pi, BVR cos pi minus cos 0. So cos phi is cos 180 minus 1, cos 0 is 1, so minus you will get minus 2 here, minus 2 BVR. Here minus indicates the direction. So answer is magnitude of VAB is 2 BVR. The potential difference between the two ends A and B is given by 2 BVR. Very simple question. What I did is, I took a small element here. That element I considered separately. This element is making an angle phi with horizontal. So based on this, I resolved this V into two components. The component parallel to the length will not provide any motional EMF. The component perpendicular to the length only provides the motional EMF. Therefore, I substituted that and I calculated the EMF developed between the ends A and B due to the movement of the bended curved shaped conductor inside the magnetic field. I hope everybody followed this solution. One more interesting question, advanced model. Let us see. This question, it is given like this: a semi circular loop of radius r is located on the boundary of a uniform magnetic field B. The loop is set into rotation with a constant angular acceleration. Constant angular acceleration alpha about an axis O as shown at time t is equal to 0. As at time t is equal to 0. Plot the EMF induced Plot the EMF induced in the loop as a function of time. As a function of time. This is the question, and the question figure is like this. This is the uniform magnetic field directed into the paper. Here is the boundary of the field. The strength of the B field is B bar, and the semicircular loop, it is like this. It is theta angle into the field. Remaining portion is out of the field. Its radius r is given. It is going to rotate with constant angular acceleration alpha. Constant angular acceleration alpha. Now the question is the graph between induced EMF in the loop as a function of time. So first of all, let me calculate what is the EMF induced in the loop. So solution. Here it is in rotatory motion. In rotatory motion, angular displacement is given by omega naught theta, omega naught t plus half alpha t square. This is the general formula. S is equal to ut plus half et square. Like that, initial angular velocity omega naught, time is t, alpha is the angular acceleration. A semicircular loop radius located on the uniform magnetic, the loop set into rotation with a constant angular acceleration about an axis O. O is here, about an axis passing through O. Okay. If it starts its journey from rest, initial angular velocity is 0. So angular displacement can be taken as half alpha t square. Angular displacement can be written as alpha t square. Here, this angular displacement takes values, theta takes values from 0 to pi. Once the complete rotation happens, 0 to pi will be the values of theta. As the loop is entering into the field, slowly the flux linked with the loop is going to increase from 0 to pi. Again from pi to 360, that is nothing but 2 pi, the flux is decreasing with respect to time. 0 to 2 pi, flux is increasing. Again pi to 2 pi, flux is decreasing. So as long as it is under motion, either the flux is increasing for half cycle, remaining half cycle flux is decreasing. So when flux is increasing, EMF developed is positive. When flux is decreasing, EMF developed is taken as negative. So in both the cases, we need to calculate the flux value. How to calculate the flux? Let us see. Now, what is the area of the loop at this moment? It is at a particular instant t. Only theta portion of the semicircular loop entered into the magnetic field. So area of the loop linked with field. That means only this portion area I want. How to find that area? So pi r square is the total area. This pi r square area is distributed over 360 degrees. For 360 degrees, pi r square is the area. For theta, it is the thing. Pi r square is the area for 2 pi radians angle. For theta radians, what is the angle? So theta is equal to theta by 2 pi into pi r square will be the area of the shaded portion. So pi pi gets cancelled. Half r square theta is the area linked. Whenever you want flux is equal to b bar dot a bar. Area and this cos 0 is 1, no need of worrying about the dot product. Strength of the field is B only. Area just now you calculated as half r square theta. This is the flux passing through the small area. Already we have the theta value. This is the flux linked with the small portion. Let me take it as d phi. So that is equal to half into b into r square into, in the place of theta, half alpha t square I can write. Half alpha t square I can write. So 1 by 4 br square alpha t square. 1 by 4 br square alpha t square is the flux linked. We need EMF. EMF is minus d phi by dt. So that is only magnitude I am taking. Otherwise, strictly speaking, B and A, B is into the paper, A is out of the paper. So cos 180 is minus 1. You will get minus here. Thus, that minus and this minus will go. Finally, you are left with d by dt of 1 by 4 br square alpha t square. 1 by 4 br square alpha t square. Let me rub the upper portion to solve the remaining problem. So here constants I should keep out. Constants 1 by 4 b r square alpha, then d by dt of t square. Derivative of t square is 2t. So half b r square alpha into 2t. Sorry, this is 4. We'll go for 2 times. So half b r square alpha t is the EMF developed. In this case, you are getting the value of EMF as positive for the first half cycle. That means entire loop will enter into the magnetic field. Once the loop is starting to come out of the field, the EMF value should be taken as negative. E is negative for pi to 2 pi rotation. Hence, the general formula for EMF I can write like minus 1 whole power n, minus 1 whole power n, half b r square alpha t. Here n takes values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. N is equal to 1 if I take, you will get a minus. N is equal to 2 if I take, you will get plus. N is equal to 3 if I take, you will get minus. So plus and minus for EMF value is alternatively coming. Okay. Now, if you draw a graph between E and T, what would be the graph? So before that, what is the time taken by the loop to make rotation? Already we studied that theta is equal to half alpha t square. That implies 2 theta by alpha is equal to t square. That implies t is equal to root over 2 theta by alpha. So for first half rotation, the time taken let it be T1 is given by 2 pi by alpha. Next half rotation, theta becomes 2 pi, so 4 pi by alpha. Next half rotation, again theta becomes 3 pi, 3 2s are 6, so T3 is equal to root of 6 pi by alpha, and so on for nth rotation, nth half rotation. Here these are number of half rotations. Okay, so you will get the general formula 2n pi by alpha. The graph between induced EMF and time taken. Induced EMF on y-axis, time taken on if I take x-axis. So as the time is increasing, the value of time is increasing means EMF is also getting increased. So the graph takes like this. First of all, it will come like this. Next, it will go like this. Next, it will come like this. Next, it will go like this. So if you extend, it will be like this. If you extend, it will be like this. But for first half cycle, it is like this. You are getting negative. Next half cycle, you are getting positive. Again, next half cycle, you are getting negative. Next half cycle, you are getting positive, negative, positive, like that. So this is at time T1, time T2, time T3, T4, etc., etc. This is the nature of the graph. Observe clearly, for half rotation if EMF is negative, for remaining half rotation EMF is positive. As time is advancing, it is like this. Why you got a straight line here? It is in the form of y is equal to mx, some constant into x. So y is equal to mx is a straight line passing through the origin. For first half cycle, it is a straight line up to here. Next half cycle, it is a straight line up to here. Next half cycle, slope has to increase, direction has to reverse. Hence, this is the structure of the graph between E and T. In case of rotation of a semicircular loop into a magnetic field, for every half rotation, the direction of EMF is going to change. Here, the semicircular loop is rotating with a constant angular acceleration alpha. That you should take into consideration.